Uh-oh. Getting all set up here. Getting ready to talk to Richard Hill. All right. Sorry for my tardiness. Got caught up. People are starting to show up at the church again, which means impromptu conversations. And, I'm such an extrovert. I can't help myself sometimes. So anyway, it's good to see you. I've talked to Richard. He's planning to get on here. Look for a great conversation today. And Richard is what we would call OG at RPC. He was here a long time ago. Been such a fantastic, left such a fantastic legacy. It's a real honor to have him on today. As I mentioned, feel free to type in questions in the comments, and I'll make sure to ask Richard any questions. Okay. Hey, Richard.
Hey, man.
How are you doing, man? You look good.
I look old.
Those are your words, not mine.
I thought I better put a hat on so I don't scare everybody. And they don't realize I'm bald and have a Santa Claus beard.
Oh, man. So how have you been?
Doing good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you well. I assume there are people listening.
There are. And usually what happens is we'll get, a bunch of people that'll watch this live, and then we post it on the website so people can come back. So it'll be up there for eternity. So careful what you say.
You're looking good.
Thanks, man. I'm like everybody, just trying one day at a time, right?
I don't know that people at Roswell realize we've known each other for a long time.
I was wondering, when was the first time we met? I think.
I came down to North Avenue. I don't remember why, but I remember even think. Maybe it was working on raising money for mission or something.
I think that was right. That was a while ago. I'm trying to think, when did you serve at RPC?
I was there from December of '94 till February of 2008.
Wow, that was some crazy times to serve.
You weren't even born. You weren't even born in December '94.
No, I was. So how did you find your way to RPC?
Well, that was a God thing. I left First Pres as a youth minister because the kids were mostly Westminster. They had so much Christian stuff at school. They really didn't have time and didn't have need for a lot of outside Christian development in some respects. And I was getting caught up in mission. But I left and was doing our own business, selling tapes for Penny's Parenting for Life business, and realized quickly that wouldn't make a full-time living. And a friend, David Whitenauer, I don't know if you know David, minister in the presbytery, he was part-time visiting the older people at RPC and was a counselor there, and decided to leave and asked me if I might be interested in part-time 15 hours a week. And I was like, yeah, that will help supplement my income. And so I started out visiting the homebound, and that's really all I did. Uh, December the 11th, 94. And within a month, the associate, Robin Gans, announced to Lane, who had only been there 2 months, that she was leaving, that her husband retired long before, and she was just waiting till the new pastor came. So when she left, Lane said, is there any way you could step up to full time? We'll pay you what you're getting at First Pres. And I'm like, I'm sure that must be the spirit. I believe I can do that. So it was just Lane and I were the only pastors, and uh, Margaret came about a year later, and Cynthia Blaine came as DC not too long after. But it's just Lane and I and a youth minister and Nancy and Carmen. No, Carmen wasn't there even. It was a small staff with about 1,200 members.
Wow. I just can't even imagine. And you guys were growing like gangbusters at that time.
Well, Cy had built it up, and Bob Ashworth was the interim, and he and Ann were in other churches for a while before coming back. But yeah, it started growing gangbusters. Lane, I think Lane's preaching, but also his administration. We were in a little house that used to be the manse behind, kind of where you're sitting right now, literally. and the church was where the main sanctuary was, where the sanctuary is now, but it was much smaller, and we tore it down within a few years, and it had no steel in it. It came down in 45 minutes.
No way.
But I guess we built that CLB building on top of where the old manse was, first of all. And so we had a lot of building, a lot of growth, a lot of changes, a lot of staff additions. So I started out visiting the old people and fell in love with the community of Roswell, because I was hearing about the history of Roswell from residents who had been born there before 1900. And so I had a ball. Annie Mae Funderburk and I were partners, and we visit twice a week. We visit Lucille Hockenhull, who was over 100. She couldn't hear, couldn't see. And she knew Annie Mae because she had no short-term memory, but she never knew who I was, and had a little flip chart. And she'd ask questions. I finally just started giving her my flip chart. I'm the pastor, about 1,200 members.
Wow.
But, got to know and love Annie Mae, one of my best friends at the time, and Virginia Adams, who was, ended up growing to be over 100. Emily Dalvin Vischer, who was Jimmy Carter's aunt. Just became really dear friends, and I just felt like Roswell became my homeland, my really home base.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is not common for me to meet someone involved in one of our mission partners in Roswell, and your name comes up. And it's just like, tell us some stories about you helping launch some of the ministries that are still making a huge difference in Roswell.
So as we were anticipating this talk, I've been reflecting, and my greatest years of ministry were at Roswell. And I had a taste of mission at First Presbyterian and got to experience a lot with Charles Black. He was really my mentor. And even though I was doing youth ministry, I got to do a lot. Mission trips are a big theme for youth. And I carried that over to Roswell. But Roswell had already had a history of mission trips, starting in Haiti. In 83, I believe. I think Cy and a group went, and that crew were still going to Jamaica. And I remember I have a lot of mentors that mentored me in learning about mission and multicultural work, but also about discipleship and faith. And so a lot of old timers will remember Jamaica, and Bob Coltis headed that up, who wrote he drew cartoons about everything we did. And then we moved to Belize, and Roldan Rios was pastor there. It ended up kind of falling apart after about 10 years, but Sean Potter was ahead, and really great leader. Cultus drew a picture of a slave ship, and Fran Farias had a whip, whipping us all into shape. We're all at the oars rowing, and Potter and Fran Farias cracking the whips, and Tom Hanlon was ballast on the deck. It was always hilarious cartoons, but we worked ourselves to death. I was 30 in my 30s, and I could handle it physically, but tough. I don't know how people my age now were doing what we were doing, but Russ Fawcett always went, and we just had a great group working hard and learning how to work smart. And we had a lot of trial and error, and a lot of some people would say failures, and it really was learning as we go. Sean Potter made sure we did not support direct projects of Roldan's, but rather the church, and others were really aiding Roldan's pockets, and we ended up leaving there and finding Guatemala. Ben Persons was always a big mentor of mine in his crusty and demanding way, and he got fed up in Jamaica and found a partnership in the Yucatan. And Ben, as a engineer, believed that we have expertise, and we don't need to be going and cleaning somebody's toilets for the sake of toilets, and painting rooms. That's their community, their lives. They need to be doing that. And it seemed elitist at first, and then I learned a great lesson that we go and do the work so that we can feel good. What matters most is the impact we make on what will be sustained there, and the impact the Holy Spirit makes on us coming back. Right. So Ben taught me a lot of lessons, and often I had to really reflect on it. But what I did, Jeff, is it took me about 3 years to start developing leadership, and Lane was kind of frustrated being the type A, and I need you producing things, I need you teaching things, and I'm like, Lane, I want something that I can start and then expand on. But Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, he used to have a guy that would spin a plate and then put it in a holder, and then he'd spin another plate, and before long he's spinning so many plates he couldn't add any more without the first ones falling apart. And that became a mantra of my ministry. I don't want to start things and then always be pushed to starting something new, and that's a lot of my gift, is envisioning and starting something, seeing something new that the Spirit wants. But if I keep starting new things, then we can't continue the old things that were good. And Roswell had a lot of mission stuff going on before I got there. So I was trying to figure out how to keep from burning out.
Yeah.
And I had a burnout course at other churches, and I changed my mantra. How can I find joy in doing ministry? And so I started noticing people with a passion. And Lane, I kind of pushed, and he was patient with me. I said, Lane, you just need to know, I'm not efficient, but I'm effective. Give me some time. And after about 3 years, he started realizing I was building something. And Emily and Hugh Vischer wanted to do something with India, where Hugh's twin sister had served as a Presbyterian missionary and had followed this ministry from the time she left there, was forced out in the 50s, 1950s. And we started a connection with India, and I got Minnie and Jerry Bowden to partner with Emily and Hugh as the lay leaders. Emily and Hugh had the vision, and of course, Minnie had the energy and organizational skills. So over 5 years, we started doing a major project, putting $25,000 a year into a program they had in India, and we built a presbytery.
Oh, wow.
In fact, they built a presbytery with our money. We got credit for it. It was a new presbytery and had a presbytery office that was that had a fish farm and start out with water buffalo for biogas digester, and they'd sell that to support the presbyter. And then recruited about 29 pastor couples and trained them. And they each built about 10 to 15 churches. And so at the end of 5 years, we had a presbytery with almost 400 new congregations and 16,000 new people. And every year we'd have a big project to kind of supported bikes for Bijnor. Bijnor was the province. And bricks and bikes and all the kids and the whole church, Minnie and a whole bunch of people got the whole church backing it and involved. And we kind of learned how to ramp up something. About the end of that time, we decided to move from Belize and went to Guatemala, and we started our partnership there. Mark Snoddy already had a connection with the hospital there, and Mark did his thing, and then we started going and finding ways to work in Kichie and the hospital, and just getting loads of people on board. After that, we decided to focus in town. We've been doing a lot of in town, focusing on affordable housing, which culminated in we were going to buy an apartment complex. That was my vision, and we hired a consultant. Protip Biswas, who actually is the head of United Way's homeless, the whole area downtown Atlanta. Wow. Protip consulted with us, and we decided it would not be in the best interest of the church to own and operate a property, but we needed a partner to do it. But I wanted a place where we could invest, and through refugee ministries, the apartments across the street, Mimosa, allowed us to have people so involved in refugee ministry. I wanted something convenient and something our people felt that we were responsible for, because that caused people to pour out. So we ended up partnering with Homestretch, North Housing Initiatives of North Fulton, I think was the original name. But we decided to partner and to renovate 3 duplexes at Homestretch, and we wanted our people to feel the responsibility. So we became the construction company. And once again, I looked to Minnie, and we recruited some incredible leaders, Dolores White and Judy Smith, and golly, there's so many leaders. And then we had these foremen, and Terry Buchanan and Potter, and a lot of other people who had really great skills. And I think we put about $50,000 in. We put about $200,000 worth of expertise, people hours, and 14,000 work hours, and 700 different volunteers. And Lane and Doug Coe got so excited because of the energy level that came from that just the stewardship pledge campaign just went over the top, and everybody was so excited. They're like, hey, that's kind of the fuel for the whole engine of RPC. Do it again. We kind of look at each other and like, so we did a smaller project next year, and we realized we just burned ourselves out. And I learned a good lesson from that. it was exciting and people got excited. We did great work. We left something impactful, but I don't think I respected the boundaries of our people and let the good that we were doing go beyond our physical and emotional and spiritual capacity. So had to pull back, and then I left a couple of years after that to do something bigger and better, which did not pan out. And I knew it 2 weeks after I left, and I'm like, Lane, can I come back? Can I come back? You know, and it just couldn't work. But the other thing, Jeff, that I think is one of the most significant parts I contributed early on, Lane and I realized what we needed was some leadership development.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Lane, I said, you know, a 6-week class for elders is not sufficient. We're teaching nuts and bolts, but we're not teaching theology. We're not teaching Bible. So First Presbyterian, where Penny was, she was involved in disciple Bible study there. Mm-hmm. And I said, Lane, I'd like to start disciple here. And Cynthia Blaine is DCE, was very organized and a great administrator, and she knew that was not my gift. And so I think she was like, I don't want Richard coming and meddling in Christian education, and he'll bring chaos to all my order. And I said, it took me years before I could get them to let me start a pilot class. And I said, Cynthia, I promise, when I finish teaching 1 year, I'll turn it over to you and Christian Ed. And if y'all want to take it and run with it, fine. I'll step out of the way. So I had a class of 14, and I recruited them, and it was some leaders, some who weren't super connected. And we had a great class, 34 weeks. And I think Pat Smith was in there and Becky Stout. Names are blanking. Claudia Porter was in there, who was not a super involved member, long-term member. She ended up starting the Porter Academy School for kids who were autistic.
Oh, wow.
Because of that class. And at the end of the year, I told them, I said, I'm not teaching next year. And they said, oh, but it was so great. I said, if I teach next year, I'll be teaching the same class every year. And no, y'all are able to teach this. No, we're not. I said, it's great curriculum. So I refused to teach. And Lane's like, Richard, we need you teaching. I said, I know it, but if I teach, they won't. And so I did not teach. And finally, Emily Perry and I think Pat Smith and Becky and a few others decided they would team teach, and they didn't feel able to. But at the end of that year, we kind of launched a notion that lay people could teach really serious Bible courses. And within 5 years, we had 100 people taking disciple every year and taking numerous year after year. And that developed a leadership base that became, I think, the real impetus for a really, really informed and dedicated session at RPC that influenced all different areas. And that kind of taught me to, I'm a good facilitator more than a stand-up teacher. I was never the teacher of Lane, but that experience and reflection model of mission, and then some deep theology. So I felt I learned a lot, and my role was minister of mission and discipleship. And that it was kind of mission trips and local mission and teaching disciple Bible study that did that.
Well, that's so fantastic.
I'm loquacious also.
Well, I know you're a pastor, so I know you're passionate. And I think the thing for me, hearing you tell these stories is we're asking a lot of these questions again. You know, what is the heartbeat? Where's God's call? Where's our great passion meet the world's great need, and how can we educate and disciple folks? Because the world has changed so much. We're trying to figure out how do we adapt to a new world. Do you have any advice for us?
asking that question. Where is the congregation's passion and talent able to address a need that Christ is calling to? I saw you interviewed Mary last week, I guess. One of the great things Mary did in following up on the work that I had kind of continued. Their mission's always been important. Mary started a very successful ministry to the Hispanic community. And we had started and failed a few times, not finding the right leadership. And y'all found the right leadership. And that's expanded, and that's been, that was an area of need that I saw. We did not have as much passion because we didn't have Hispanic people, speakers. But, you know, that and new church development were things that were, you know, the same model. You know, where's a need, where's a passion, what do we have to offer? You know, if you look behind me, that's our mission statement from when I was there. When you did for the least of these, you did it unto me. That was, you know, I'd learned in seminary that Christ is there. We're trying to help our folks notice Christ, because Christ is already there. The restorative work is already there. And then how do we get involved with Christ? And then when we get involved with Christ, then we're doing with Christ and for Christ. And the least of these are teaching us what it means to have the mind of Christ, to be united with Christ, to be subjected to Christ, to follow Christ. And I think one of the guiding principles we had that sometimes came in conflict with the wants of the rest of the church and the presbytery was our mission council was dedicated to serving the least of these. And if they didn't meet the criteria of the least of these, we said, sorry, doesn't fall under our mission. We have to discriminate in some basis. So those who were intellectually handicapped fell under the least of these, and we were doing things there. It wasn't just you know, housing and the poor, but we had to find ways to limit what we're doing, but we also had to find ways to say, okay, we got so many people doing so many good things. How can we create some priorities and really put more resources toward a fewer projects? And let's look at impact. And then when I left, I was really interested in how to measure impact and was doing some research in that. My D-Min ended up doing some research in that area. And we have anecdotal stories, and we have the budget. We can see the money impact and the major impact. But, you know, how are we adding to what Christ is doing? And I think ultimately it's what is working to bring restoration. And when we're about that work, if it's wearing us out, as Millbrook ended up wearing us out, we need to stop and reassess, because it should bring restoration in our own souls. Yep. And when it's not, then as Joan Gray says, then we become a rowing church, and we're rowing and we're not sailing under the power of the Holy Spirit. And I think sometimes we were rowing and a lot of times we were sailing. And I think that's what I learned at Millbrook. We exceeded the wind in the sails and sometimes it starts being done for our glory.
Right. Well, I'll tell you that the wind is still blowing. And I mean, I often remind folks we stand on the shoulders of giants who've done a lot of hard work, and we in many ways are living off your legacy in leadership and servantship in so many, you know, Mexico and Kenya and Middlebrook and home stretch, and so many ministry endeavors. But before we get off, a lot has happened in your life I have the pleasure that I get to golf with Nicholas, your son, with some regularity, and he can see how frail and fragile I am. But what's been going on? A lot has happened in your life personally. Would you just tell us how you've seen God's, being a grandfather, new love, and how God's been at work?
Well, I left in 2008, so it's been 13 years, and the most tumultuous period of my life. My mother got cancer, had struggles with Philip, and trying to work that out at the same time going down to Florida, and then I was an interim. I was interim for most of that time, and some of it I was out of town. Then 2014, Penny got cancer, and that was a 2-year struggle. And I felt God was with me in all of that. And some of that was the depth of faith that I learned at Roswell. I always felt like I was a guide. I wasn't so much a teacher, but a guide and mutual learner. And a lot of it was just to strengthen the sense of the presence of God, the goodness of God, the guiding presence of God, that God's always there and is leading us toward something. And I had that sense. My mantra when Penny was sick was Jeremiah 29. That gosh, it's fleeing me right now, but I know the good I have for you, plans for good. I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not harm, so that you may have hope in the future. And even when Penny died, I had a tremendous sense of hope that Penny and I had done dying well, cancer well, spiritual battle. But I came out of that with hope. I came out of that as my life had been totally deconstructed, destroyed. But the God was going to build a new life. I had no idea what it was. And soon thereafter, I met Jeannie, and I quoted my scripture to her. I said, I've just followed this. I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not harm. And she finished the sentence, that you may have a future with hope. I went, oh, you know that one too. And God resurrected a life and gave me a wife that is wonderful, very different than Penny. She's introverted. Penny was definitely not introverted. Jeannie likes to snuggle up and watch movies. Penny, if she did snuggle up and watch movies, she fell asleep watching the best of movies. But a wife who's faithful and supportive and has her own mission in the neonatal unit at Grady in Midtown and Choa. So I took the church at Covenant 5 years ago. I was interim for 2 years, and some of the RPC folks would come down and worship with us, and it was a calling. And I did better work as an interim, but my gift, I feel, is envisioning and then implementing. I don't like a vision that doesn't become incarnated. It morphs, but the vision, the need I saw at Covenant was building a young adult ministry, and I had a vision for young adult ministry, and we put a team together, and they deemed it wasn't feasible. And I just told them, I said, y'all, I don't have another vision for this church, and I'm not going to come here and just preach, because to me that's being idle. You need someone else with a vision, and I don't have that, so I need to lead. So we made plans for how to replace the $750,000 HVAC system. And when they started have to fundraise for it, I said, that's not proper for me to raise funds and then leave. I need to, and with Presbytery, we Aisha and Chip and I came up with a timeline, so I left. So I've retired from my church work, which is kind of weird to say. I'm only 59. I don't feel old, though my back does, but that's from all those mission trips, I think. but I've gone into business with Philip, with my youngest, and he's a marketing wizard. And I said, why don't I come help you build the business back, because it got hit hard by COVID. And he said, Dad, you know, you're not even very good on Facebook. And you know, I had to experiment about 30 minutes to make sure I could connect with you here. And he goes, you can't really help us with our digital marketing, but we're coming up with some businesses that he can market as e-commerce businesses. So a subscription model for cat litter. But I'm finding dealing with in Chinese is not my greatest suit, and I've been negotiating in China for cat litter and freight and cardboard disposable cat litter boxes. And freight and cardboard are astronomical now because of COVID. So we put that on hold a little bit in developing the softest blanket. So these are Philip's ideas. And I said, hey, Philip, you know, I've got my doctorate. It wasn't much good. I learned a lot about mission, but I did learn how to research. So I research, and then I run it by Philip, and Philip makes the business decisions, because we all know I'm a terrible businessman. I have social entrepreneurial skills, but profit is not my driving factor. So Philip kind of keeps me honest that it's not sustainable if we're not making a profit. So I'm excited about that. We're having a great time. He gave me my second grandson 2 weeks ago, Holden Rush Hill. It's kind of an oxymoron of names. Hold up and Rush. And to go along with my 1.5-year-old Griffin Chapel Hill. And I finally get to take care of Griffin after a year of hiatus. His grandpa just visiting through a dog gate. I now am taking care of him every week, and being retired from church and flexible in business. I'm having a ball. I live a mile away from Griffin and 3 miles away from Holden, and so we're really fortunate and blessed. And I'm still working in mission and support and raising money for our partnership in Brazil, and still in touch with Zablin and Concrete Jungle, you probably know, here in town, that was started by my nephew, and Mercy Community Church. Those are kind of my mission loves right now. And even the American University in Beirut, where Penny's doctor went to serve as president, I'm helping raise some money there. So I mean, mission's still my love. I still consider myself a mission pastor. But as a fool, I left the best place to be a mission pastor there.
Well, Richard, I often say retirement is not a biblical concept, and you prove it once again. You retire and then list off in like 2 pages worth of stuff you're doing in ministry. And I want to tell you, the legacy you left here is immeasurable, and we so appreciate you. And thank you for taking the time to talk today. It's been great to catch up.
Hey, great, and I pray for you. I don't get the prayer concerns from all my other churches because I've served too many of them, but I get them from Roswell, and I know most people in the prayer concerns, and I pray for you. I'm excited Roswell has you as leadership there. Lane was one of my best friends. I read a text from Lane yesterday when he was about 2 months away from dying, and he fought well. But you know, it was about that time. Penny wouldn't even tell me you were considering, because she was afraid I might blab it to somebody. When I heard, I'm like, like Jeff's the perfect combination, and extroverted where Lane was introverted, playful like me and Lewis, but you have more of the academic side than I had also. So and like Lane, so. Love what you're doing there, and I always look forward to hearing and seeing what's going on there, and what y'all are stirring up for Christ, for Roswell and Atlanta and the world.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard.
Love
all right.
y'all.
See you in person soon, hopefully, brother.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care. See you guys.